So day 8 today. It was an early start this morning. We went along to a Twitter breakfast at the Melting Pot on Rose Street, which was really interesting. They kind of turned it into a bit of a sales pitch, which I later learned Claire didn't want at all. Bit of a shame, but it was really interesting to see how it's used in combination with television, with other social media elements, and also the new things that Twitter now offers. And as a fairly avid user of Twitter, it's quite interesting to see, because I had absolutely no idea that these things were coming out. So yeah, that was really interesting, and I spent most of my time networking with the other 2 account exec people. There's 2 interns in Leith just now who are just finishing. I think one's finishing a marketing degree and one is doing psychology. One's doing 3 weeks and the other's doing 3 months. But it was really interesting to hear about their backgrounds and actually what they're doing on their placement. Hate to say it, but it sounds like they're doing a bit more than me. And to be completely honest, it's just adding fuel to the I want to do accounts fire for me. But obviously that's a decision I have to make, not based on whether the other interns get more to do than me. But it sounded pretty good. So after that, I went back to the office and started a blog as Sarah from the IPA, head of the IPA, was there and asked me and the 2 accounts people to write a blog about the morning. So all 3 of us hesitantly kind of looked at each other and said yes. I feel like I know her, or at least I've met her a bit more, and the other 2 will probably have other things to be doing, so I thought that I'd just write it. I can pop that in my portfolio at some point to peruse at your leisure. So yeah, again, I was travelling around the room trying to find a seat. I took Fiona Burton's seat, and I was sitting opposite Victoria, who is a planner, and she's wonderful. She's really lovely to talk to. It's a shame that I haven't until now. She told me that a little bit about what she did as a planner. It seems that her role is a little bit different to Claire's. It's almost a bit of a fusion between accounts and planning. And she showed me some kind of examples of the stuff she does. She spends time mocking things up from time to time, as well as doing research. And it just sounded like her job was possibly a bit more hands-on in terms of producing physical things, rather than kind of just research. But still, really interesting to talk to her. So yeah, after that I wrote down some questions for going to Dundee. I had no idea what the format would be, if I would be the one who was asking the questions, or if it would be the researcher, or a combination of the 2, or anything. So wrote down some questions to be armed. And then, yeah, it got to about 2 o'clock. Claire called me a taxi and bundled me off with some massive bits of paper in my small handbag that I walked into everyone going down the stairs with, which was brilliant, but still, that's by the by. So yeah, got a train to Dundee, went without a hitch. And then I arrived a little bit early and had to find the station, so I just went for a walk and tried to find it and get some dinner, and then found out that the researcher was late and was only going to get there at 6 o'clock. So that was brilliant, but luckily I had my Mac with me, so just looked at my Mac and tried to do a bit more research. So yeah, did a bit of work until the researcher came. Then we had half an hour to get to know each other before the other people that we were questioning came in, and I was asking him about how he got into his job as a researcher, which was really interesting, and kind of the different kinds of jobs that you don't really hear about until you're in the industry yourself, or you're doing the job yourself. So it was quite eye-opening to hear about that. He also told me how much he's being paid for this campaign as a freelance researcher. Again, I think I'm just incredibly naive. The money is mind-blowing to me. but still something I'm going to have to get used to. So yes, we also met the woman, the recruiter she's called, who finds the people for these focus groups, and she was exactly as he described, typically a housewife who has lots of connections with schools and knows a lot of people and has a lot of time to kind of build these connections, and she was that. She was lovely. And then he ran me through what we were going to do. He had a list of questions he was going to ask. I could ask some if I wanted as well, and we would ask them the questions, show them the adverts, and then have a bit of a chat about just generally themselves, what they do, and their responses to the videos. So that sounded fine, and it was great. The first group of guys, I think, was 19 to 22, something like that, and they were actually far more mature than I anticipated, far more mature, which was nice to see. And then the second group was 23 to 29, and honestly, the questions we asked were obviously the same. The order of things that we showed them wasn't, because Pat, the researcher, said that, just purely by showing them something first, it could impact their decision of whether they liked it or not, because they hadn't got into it yet and they didn't know what the other things would be like. But honestly, they came out with the same things. It was like the first group had briefed the second on what they'd seen and what to say, which was mad. But no, it was really interesting. And then, I got a taxi back to the station and got a train home, and here I am. It's midnight and I'm home and I have work tomorrow, so that's great. I think I complain too much. Anyway, there we are. Brilliant day. Really glad that I got the opportunity to do some qualitative research on my own, and hopefully the notes that I've taken of what happened will be good enough. I'm off to bed. Bye bye.